They will give you always the best rate.
They connect to Binance, HitBTC, LMAX and Kraken.
What I like about SwissBorg is that they have an amazing app.
Pow wow, yo, yippee, yay, guys. Part number 1, and I'm super excited to be with you guys for a special episode today. We're going to dive into the macro perspective of 2024 and then talk about my own portfolio and say why I do think that some of these cryptos might have some success in 2024. As you guys know, my name is Cyrus. I'm the proud founder and CEO of SwissBorg, always here to serve you. So guys, as you know, you probably have noticed so far, we have released last week the crypto report SwissBorg Hocus Pocus Crypto 2024. This is a really fantastic, I would say, report that is very easy to and very digest to read. Obviously, there's a lot of pages, but to be honest, there's a lot of graphs and it's very easy and fun to read. I really recommend all of you guys to go through it. There's been as well other different crypto reports that are quite well done. The one of the block obviously is a good one. There's a few other ones. The one of Coinbase is very interesting as well. But I definitely recommend the SwissBorg one. We're not going to go into the whole, obviously, essentially crypto report. Today, we're just going to talk about the crypto outlook of 2024, essentially, and then we're talking about a little bit my own portfolio, and I can explain you why I believe that these different cryptos, at least I believe in 2024, are going to be a good play. So if you look at this crypto report, essentially, it's the macro perspective. Then we talk more about the evolution of adoption of usage of crypto and how this is still showing that we're at an early cycle, but there's an exponential amount of users that are being onboarding and will be onboarding this new cycle. We talk about as well what has happened in 2023 as well, right? It's always understood to predict the future. It's always good to look at what's being done in the past, right? We look at, well, the calendar 2024. This is very important of all the big different days that are going to play a lot into essentially a Bitcoin, crypto in general. Then we're going to talk about as well in this report about the Bitcoin and how this has really changed the game. One of the last perspective, which is very, very nice, is really then having this bottom-up approach, right? So we saw this top-down that we already talked about many times. So looking at the big macro, the big different news that will move this market, and then trying to figure out the sectors that will essentially enable to really perform extremely well in this next current market. So this is really what it is. And right now today we'll go through the bottom up, and going forward with Anthony and many others, we're going to have really cool ways to bring you a nice picture of what's happening on a bottom up approach. So for those, I mean, you probably already know it, but it's always very good to remind yourself on the macro perspective. Bitcoin and crypto in general is now considered as a new asset class, right? Emerging asset class. When I started getting into banking, for us was emerging markets. Back then, it was very difficult to invest in emerging markets. Then right after it was gold. Even if gold was a very old class, it was very difficult to invest into gold besides having essentially be able to invest into futures or essentially in physical gold. So we really have to talk about Bitcoin as emerging essentially asset class and crypto in general, right? Bitcoin is really just the father, but then, there's Ethereum, the mother, and all the children that goes with it. And what you have to realize here is that out of the last 10 years, and this is quite, even 12 years, sorry, Bitcoin has been the best performing class besides in 2014, 2018, and 2022. So you see that within those 4-year cycles, there's always this big drawdown. But besides those 4 years, so 2014, 2018, 2022, which was the biggest drawdowns that essentially Bitcoin went through and crypto in general, well, you see that it's the best performing asset class, and quite by crazy, right? If you look at this, this in the beginning, let's just jump to the second cycle, right? For me, it's always better from this one. But here you see 33%, and the second best asset class, right? It was essentially 2%, and that was real estate. A really bad year for financial markets. 123% against 19, 14,000% versus 37, right? 93% versus 31, 308 versus 25, 57 versus 43. That was not the best year for, I would say, in terms of performance. last but not least, 2022 didn't go in, and then 2023 we're at 150% versus 13%. So it really shows that Bitcoin itself is just being a superior asset class, and if people don't get it, I mean, don't get the whole Web3 vision, what you guys have, just show these numbers to those people, and then they'll be like, okay, well, okay, now I get it. I mean, at least you want to invest in it, and that's the people who are going to be investing through ETFs, right? A lot of people don't care about the Web3 thing, and it's normal. It's still very emerging. It's still adoption is still at very early stage. But if you look at this, there's no one could say like, okay, I'm not going to put like 2% of my wealth into essentially Bitcoin or 5%, right? Because you see that if you divide your portfolio through all these different buckets, let's say these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buckets, and you could put at least 5% to Bitcoin because you see that it has performed much better than the others, right? Then what you have to see, the evolution of Bitcoin as it's being more standardized and being more adopted and invested by millions and millions of people and as well institutional money, you see that the behavior on the risk side as well has been a bit changed, right? In the beginning, well, the first biggest drawdown in 2011, really in the beginning was 93%, right? And that was a very short one. That was a rapid, massive drawdown. In 2013, actually, this was a very long one. You see almost of a year and a half, essentially won 87%. 2017 to essentially December 2018, so a nice full year, won 84%. And this last one, essentially, it won a year as well, which went to 76%. I think that going forward, it's going to be going lower and lower, the drawdowns, because the more there's money put into essentially crypto, more there's essentially a big market cap has a very difficulty to bring it all the way down to minus 90%. Even more with this new ETF, I probably will estimate that the next big drawdown that will happen maybe in 25 or 26 or 27, this drawdown will be probably the magnitude, I would say, to 65% to maximum 70%, I believe. And it will probably be a shorter time span as well, I do believe. And once more, again, to insist on the drawdowns and the performance of essentially Bitcoin and showing these 4 different cycles, right? There was a first cycle was a very small one, but the 3 next cycles have been more adopted by a bigger amount of people. We really saw that this really rhymes together, right? Which you have essentially the first cycle ends 4 years in 2014, big drawdown that happened. This was really the Bitcoin cycle. The next cycle was all about Ethereum and the ICOs and how SwissBorg was born, if you guys remember. And, it finished in 2018 by a very big drawdown of 75%. If you look at the next cycle, which was the application cycle, or at least the DeFi cycle for me, / NFT type of cycle, you would say that this as well went with a 4-year and essentially had a nice drawdown of 64% in 2022. And now 2023, it started this new cycle, right? This new cycle that is more bullish than the other cycles we've seen in 2015, but a little bit more bearish than 2019 itself, right? So I think so. What we have to understand from this perspective is that, again, there's already 4-year cycles that happen. I don't see this changing. It's always well position on, of course, the Bitcoin halving, of course, and I think that this is probably going to be the same thing. The slight difference is that now Bitcoin sometimes have some correlation to the market. We haven't seen this in the past 23. That was very good. It was playing a very different game from the tech stocks and whatsoever. But there is a possibility that Bitcoin will not always have an edge against the market itself. And maybe these 4 years markets going forward could be a bit shorter or not. So look at the psychology of the market. Very often, if you've been already in the first, second, or third cycle, you really have this very common that repeats itself, right? Usually what you start here is with some hope, right? And then you have a little bump there that happens, and then you have optimism, right? And optimism gives you even more confidence, and people start pouring more money and referring, but talking to some people. Then what you have right after optimism, usually it's that point of saying, okay, now this is for sure, it's belief. Like now we're in. we're in this transformable state of changing the markets, building wealth, but at the same time changing, the whole, financial game with DeFi or the video game, what it depends on the industry, that we're changing something big. And this is when people start referring a lot of people, not a lot of newbies come in, right? Then what you have is that the newbies come in and they push it to the next. So the really new money gets in right at the thrill, right? Before the thrill, between the belief and the thrill. Then you have the second wave of people that essentially there's usually a bounce back, a little correction, which is healthy. And then you have this second wave of a lot of new peoples that come in that essentially bounce the market up here, right? Then after this, we get to euphoria. Everyone thinks we're like super rich. We're all going to buy Lambos and whatsoever. There's the third wave of people referring. So this is the third people essentially. And here very often you have a correction that happens. But there's as well a nice bounce back that usually happens, which is the compensation. This, there's a lot of people that take profits from this, and these are people that were in the hope, people that were got in a little bit later, and essentially then you have the fourth wave, which is really the bad wave that happens, and you still have a lot of people coming into the fourth wave, to be honest, in terms of number of users. And then it's the anxiety, the denial, the panic, the capitulation. And that's really when things hit the fan and shit hits the fan and you get really like depressed. And the anger happens, there's some bounce back, but markets are going a bit sideways, but people are still super depressed. And this is, the FTX moment, if you guys remember. This was more the, if you guys, Celsius and many others that blew up, 3 Hour Capital and all of that. And this is when people should be investing, right? When you see the greed and fear index that is very, very, very low, you see that there's no more panic sellers anymore. And the FTX blow up, that was clear. I mean, that's why I personally was very fortunate not to invest as much as I should have, but I did buy a very big amount of a lot of different tokens, but especially the blue chips. I went for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and of course some Borg. And I'll explain that a bit later on. But essentially, this was the sweet peak. And here you still see that in the second quarter, and we saw it last year, there's still some depression to some extent. Because people are saying like, oh, but none of these apps are actually being used. Sandbox is just like 50 users. This other video game sucks. DeFi is only 3 different people. The trading volume is super low. Nothing is really happening. But at this time, what these bear markets do to your face is that it smashes you like this massive punch in your face. And there's 2 ways of doing that. There's rather you block yourself, right? And you get that hit here, but you're still able to protect yourself. You don't dodge it. That's very rare. You usually don't dodge it. At least we never dodged it. We block these things very well, but it really hurts. And in these times, in these really hard times, this is where you become a hero or you go to zero, right? That's as easy as that. There's no way out around. It's hero or zero. So you blow up, or on the opposite, you build this resilient mindset and you think about your mission, you think about your community, you think about the burgers, all the employees around you, your partners, and you say, you know what, let's do the exactly opposite what people do. Crazy Series A, crowdfunding, biggest of all time. Let's build up and let's really, thanks to this bear market, create the next bull market where we control, or at least we participate in this new narrative. And this is exactly what was happening, since the beginning of the year here, right? And how now we are at this hope, right? This nice big bounce of this hope that was fueled by the ETF, was fueled by just, the markets showing that the macro perspective was going to be much better probably in 2024. That rates were going to go down, the presidential elections, and just the fact that there's some really new cool tech, like layer ones, like Solana is changing it, that AI is bringing some new stuff and all that. So there's social fine whatsoever. GameFi, we'll talk about this with Anthony, other guys going forward, is how you just create from this hope now going to optimism, and then the next step, which is belief, and thrill. And this is a bit what's going to happen in 2024 and 2025, and we'll see how 2026 and 2027 will span out. But at least this is what I believe for 2024 from my perspective. So now let's talk about what happened in terms of numbers. And I think so this is actually a good graph which shows you essentially what have been the most performing tokens within the ecosystem. So as you probably noticed, whenever there's the starting of the hope, the most attraction is going to the main blue chips, so essentially which is Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Bitcoin has done essentially 150%. It's 170%. I think so this counts the next last day. So 150%. And if you look at Ethereum, it's done pretty much 100%. So these are the two big. And that is always what it is, because in the beginning, you want to confirm a trend with the mother and the father, and then the other ones start growing. The second thing, essentially, what really has happened, it is Solana. Solana has really shown the world that it's not an FTX blockchain. It's a literally distributed and decentralized layer one. That's the first thing. Second, it's actually a great ecosystem, and it's an amazing community that's building essentially dApps that are really good in terms of DeFi, in terms of DePIN, in terms of really real world type of different issues. And this is something that has really emerged and changed the huge narrative around layer ones, right? So Solana was obviously the big winning one. But not only, I mean, Injective was another one, Cas was another one, STX, and if you look EMX as well, even near Rune, GRT, Astro, so Optimism, the layer 2s as well. So a lot of these, WeMix as well, essentially, Mina, again, a lot of these different layer 1s have been capturing a lot of attention, even Phantom, even VET itself, right? So these are essentially, and AVAX, of course, I forgot this one, but L-Round as well. So essentially, the two big catalysts has been, first, Bitcoin, obviously 150%, huge, massive performance. The second one has been Ethereum and all the contenders. Because essentially what we're thinking now is that like Injective, which has this cross-chain type of thing, how DeFi could really be implemented in a smarter way than what Cosmos has always built with their token itself. So how to make Cosmos a thanks to a better system and making sure that a token really has a real, real usage on it. But many others as well, right? Stacks as well, how using Bitcoin as a new layer 2 type of thing, then you could build different essentially tokens on it. And you've seen a lot of different other ones. Then there's still some crazy things. Obviously, the AI has been like Render and many other different tokens that are regarding AI have just exploded. There's few of them. There's a lot that has been done on essentially Solana's ecosystem as well. A lot of different tokens, such as Bonk, crazy meme tokens that has always, but those always happen, right? In and out. There's no I don't think so. There's some cycles to some extent that goes with these different meme tokens, but every cycle brings at least two of them, right? Last one was Flocky and Shiba. This new one's going to be Bonk, and I think so. There's Pepe and Bonk, obviously. I don't know where Pepe is here, but that was definitely a great, great. And then there's essentially all these layer ones. So these are mainly layer ones or layer twos. That is something that is very important. If you look at the top capitalization, right? If Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, BNB, XRP, Cardano, Avalanche, Polkadot, Tron, Polygon, Toncoin, ICP, Litecoin, Cosmos, Near Protocol, Stellar, Optimism, OKB, Hedera, Ethereum Classic, Injective, Aptos, Monero, Immutable, all within the top 30 tokens, all of them are layer 1s or layer 2s, essentially. There's like 90% of them. There's very few, essentially, decentralized applications that have been able to tap into the top 50 so frequently. The main reason is that some people still believe that playing the layer 1 is something that has, I don't know, a better business model, because each time there's a transaction, there's people making money. I necessarily don't think that's true. I think so. There's a lot of applications that could really be better than essentially layer 1s. But as we still haven't figured out these different layer 1s and layer 2s, and it's been for that for a long time. I always recommend to have a lot of layer ones in your portfolio, and that's why we have the best of blockchain. And this is not to make any excuse about the Borg token. I mean, last year the Borg token was pretty flat. I didn't expect it last year to do like 10x, to be honest. I thought, but to get to like 50 cents, so have at least I would say 150% growth. I would have think that would have been like a great thing to get at least to 50 cents or something like that, or at least 40 cents. I thought that would have been something more normal. But we have to understand a few things, is that a lot of people in SwissBorg ecosystem already have a big bags of essentially SwissBorg tokens. So not everyone wants to accumulate their position, which I can understand or not understand, because if you believe on the long term, it is sometimes good to maximize a bit some positions that you feel that you're more comfortable with. But everyone has his own thing. The second thing is that what we have to understand, there's no new net money into it. And the SwissBorg token, so far, one of the best usage of it is that you get into crypto, or you're in crypto, but you really enjoy the SwissBorg app. And why do you want essentially to get SwissBorg token? Is that because you feel it's very important to become premium for the status, but more importantly, to get access to a lot of different great deals and better yield and less fees and more things going forward. And we haven't had this new retail. It's really small. There's like 300, 400 people maximum per day that are coming into SwissBorg. So it's still a little bit growing the ecosystem, but we're not there with a lot of new net money, right? So you see this very often with Google search. The Google search, it's still extremely low, right? It was a little bump in the last month or so, but it hasn't really grown massively in 2023. So this is something that's very important to understand. However, when we move from the hope to the optimism, this is going to change, and obviously then the next cycles, things are going to boost by itself. We're not waiting for next cycle though to make the Borg boost. We have a lot of things that will change going forward, but for this we'll have a special AMA about the SwissBorg token, the Borg token itself, and we'll be actually updating you with a really cool new white paper. Right now, there's some private banks and financial advisors that get to have some crypto, but in this next thing, I would say we're going to have a huge amount of financial advisors that are going to put their ETFs, invest into their ETFs, private bankers in general around the world. And I think so in this next cycle we're going to see, and this is going to be the craziest move, is when the mutual funds get into it, the large institutions that pour in 1-2%, and insurance companies, reinsurance companies, and pension funds that will essentially build this huge amount of inflow of new net money. That will be carried as well with a new adoption of retail users, right? We're still at very, very small amount of users, especially in Europe, right? Where we have like less than 10% of people that have crypto in most European countries, besides Switzerland, where it's more a bit advanced. Some time ago, we wanted to share about your SwissBorg portfolio, and actually some people have this is released in the beta. Today, I want to talk about my own portfolio. I have different portfolio. This is not only my own essentially portfolio, but this is one portfolio that I do really enjoy, and it's called a Core Satellite. I think so. We talked about this multiple times, and what it is that the core portfolio are the positions that usually have a high market cap, that have less risk to it, and that are usually those that you want to keep forever. And it's a bit like your small family, right? So this is essentially my portfolio that I have today. I have, if you look at the breakdown, is pretty much 60% between these three positions, right? So it's essentially Ethereum, SwissBorg token, and Bitcoin. And let's talk about maybe Ethereum to start with, because it's my biggest position within this portfolio. I still have probably much more Borg than anything else, but yeah, this is at least in my portfolio in this one. So Ethereum, what it is, we all know what is Ethereum. Ethereum has changed the game. It went from cryptocurrencies to crypto assets to Web 2 to Web 3, giving the vision of what internet was supposed to be meant for, a place where people could read, could actually as well share different comments, could be able to create this meritocratic personas regarding these different information, and how you could do peer-to-peer transactions, and how you could build essentially decentralized applications where you reward fairly and meritocratically your users. And this is, I think, so what all essentially Ethereum is, and different layer ones is how to tap into essentially internet. Not into Google, into internet itself, right? And I think so this is something that people don't think about always, is that, again, these layer ones are really investing into internet. And like, if you had an internet today, like what we have, you'd be able to invest into that. And that could just, go to whatever. There's no limits to the prices of these essentially layer ones when you think about it. I believe that this year we're going to have an ETF that's going to happen. Right, we have had very great results from the the merge and the surge. There's still more things to be done. We still have layer 2s that essentially are helping Ethereum to scale as well. But I do believe that Ethereum itself is going to continue to grow. The ecosystem around it is amazing. The developers around it is amazing. And it's just a first mover advantage that everyone believes in. So that's why I always think that Ethereum is going to be a good play. I will keep on investing using Ethereum, of course, as well. And I do think that, Ethereum, seeing Ethereum at over 10,000 for me is something that I have as a target in a more, let's say, not super bullish way. 10K for me, it's like a regular target price. I think it could go, but it could go very well in a very bullish case to much more than that. It could go to 15K or above that. So there's no limits to essentially Ethereum because, again, it is the number one layer one that you could see. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, I think so it's really good to look at statistics. But you could look at all essentially the DeFi value that is locked, the TVL, which is 55 billion in total. There is today at least 2/3 of that that's really on essentially Ethereum itself. All the applications that are today mostly are using is rather on Ethereum itself, or if not, some few of them are used today on of course on Solana, and there's different other layer ones that have some some activity to some extent. But Ethereum is really the home birth for now for most applications, as we know. The second thing, which is very important, is to understand is as well that Ethereum finally became a deflationary type of token, which was the opposite. It was always creating more and more and more. Now with the surge, essentially this things has changed, and the merge and the surge, that things have changed. And this shows again that the token economics of Ether is just better with time, and the technology and ecosystem is just better. Compare all the other ones, it's besides Solana that we've seen just recently, we haven't witnessed any layer ones that have a strong track record now since 2017, right? That's 6 years of essentially track record, and things just get better with time. Now the second one, well, the SwissBorg token. The SwissBorg token, as you guys know, has a wild type of volatility. And it has a great success since its ICO of 2017 to essentially today. And it went through multiple different phases, the CHSB, the migration to the Borg. But what I like really much about the SwissBorg token, and why do I feel very bullish about the SwissBorg token, is that it's one of the rare token that has multiple utilities. I think so this is something is very important to talk about it multiple times. A lot of tokens today in crypto don't really have a usage. For the layer 1, we talked about this in the past. Well, it's quite easy. You stake it. Essentially, you become a validator, or you delegate your tokens to essentially an external party. That external party makes, whenever there's a transaction that happens, essentially some of the transaction fees go to yourself and you get a yield on it. So that has a great usage, and then some people potentially could vote or not on different components of the layer 1. But usually that's not a huge activity. It's more essentially you get dividends based on the fact that you are validating essentially transactions. But here, what I think so is which is very, very important. Let's look at the basics, right? One of the big basics here is essentially, if you look at the Borg metrics, right? One of the nice part of this is that we have today essentially 227 million 92 that are locked. And the reason that people are locked, say almost 50,000 people, is that because they're premiums. It's people that are literally committing for 1 year to stake their tokens, to show faith into the SwissBorg ecosystem. No one has ever done this. Just repeat ourselves, no one has done this. Almost 50,000 people stake SwissBorg tokens around Europe in order to get different premium benefits. And this is a very, very strong utility that goes with it. And I think so this is something that's very important, right? This is really one of the biggest play. And if you think about the adoption, what's going to happen in the next, I would say, cycle, if we were able to get 47,000 with a smaller team, a less great app, and a smaller business cycle, then think about what could happen in the next cycle, in this current cycle, right? We can maybe at least 2x this. So that means we could probably get to 150,000 people, if we're really good, right? To get 150,000 people or much more in order to lock their tokens. And imagine if you do that. So essentially, if now you double up essentially the tokens, the premium users, essentially, what you would probably do as well is that you have more than a half, okay, of the tokens total supply that will be locked. And that already brings a very strong token economics. So then in the circulation, just have a small amount of tokens that will not have people to sell the token, right? It's more people that will trade it, but still there's a half of the supply that it's locked essentially into these premium benefits. So this is one of the first one. What is very important as well is that we have as well the buyback and the buyback and choose, right? The protect and choose. This is something that is really, really good that not all of you guys are actually participating. This is a new way as well. So every month we participate to buy back some tokens, and essentially then you vote on what you want to do with these tokens. And these tokens could be burnt, for example. As we've seen, there's been Borg only have been burnt only 5 million, but essentially CHSB has been built over 15 million. Circuit supply burnt, you see. Oh, my bad. Circuit supply burnt so far is 15 million, and buyback pool is 5 million. And there's more going to happen every month. With the buyback, what's very important is that then you guys have to choose if you want to burn them, if you want to put them in insurance funds, if you have there's a potential act whatsoever, you get access to that. The third, which is nice, is that you get a yield essentially based on that. And the fourth could, is whatever you decide each month. We could give it to a charity or do whatever you want with it. And this is something that's very important. So the second thing essentially is this really nice governance model that we have around the token, which enables people essentially to participate in the decisions. But thanks to the community index, enables you as well to get access to more tokens or reduce essentially the supply. So I think that this is something that is really, really good as well. It's very participative, it's very democratic, and it's something that works very well. There's obviously the hero score too. This is something I don't want to talk about because I know there's going to be some changes very soon. And I think that you're going to really, really like it. In the last 3-4 weeks, Alex has done a great work. There's Faraday. There's so many people that are really trying to rethink, of course, how to play the hero in a different way. And the last one we thought about is really, really cool. I don't want to excite you too much about it, but we'll keep you tuned in. This could be a game-changing type of new utility and how the hero could be played in a much easier, more comprehensive, and more scalable way. And what we really have to understand about the SwissBorg and its 4 pillar for success is how we want to always grow with it. We always want to increase token utilities, and this is something that's very important. There's a lot of things that we're working on the DeFi. There's been, the progress and how to get the yield and whatsoever. There's a really lot of things that we always want to bring more utilities, right? It's always thinking what's done in the financial field and the game theory and to the video games and poker whatsoever, and trying to rethink how we could do this in a better way. Of course, be inspired by other different tokens as well. And this is something that we always want to, innovate and bring some sustainability to it. What we need to really grow and going forward is the governance model around the token for listing new tokens, but a lot of different things surrounding governance, such as the protect and choose and many other different things. I I think so. Which is very, very important is again how it gets a play within the internal app, but as well how we get the centralized version of the Borg token and how this could bring more people into the DeFi space to get into that. Right now, like all the people that are very excited about these layer ones or the different other tokens is essentially people that are buying. These are experts, right? It's not common people. It's really experts that want Web3, want something completely decentralized, non-custodial wallets to invest through different indexes and be able to do a lot of things with Web3. This is really our roadmap on this next year. And last but not least, I think so, obviously having more exchanges, bringing more volume is always a healthy sign to bring essentially more fun to our token. What is important about SwissBorg, I am weekly DCing some amount in order to grow my position. I stopped that with Ethereum and with Bitcoin already, I think so, 3 months ago. I thought that I had accumulated enough, and essentially I thought that it's better to now play essentially to grow the more the satellite approach, right? I want to keep my core as it is, but I think so what I really want to grow especially is my satellite and take more risk. Because now I know that we're in the hope and in the optimism, I essentially want to favor a bit more my satellite than to my core, right? So if you look at like my core to my satellite, in the bear markets, you want to have like maybe 80% of core and the rest of cash, maybe, for example, or more secure investments. And then the more you go into a bull market, the more in general what I would favor essentially satellites, like the new emerging ones. Bitcoin, as you guys know, I always say this is the Abraham of tokens, right? And being the Abraham of tokens, essentially, it really will boost itself. It's the digital gold, as you guys know it. It's the potentially a new way of creating this internet money as well, which is something that we don't always forget. But with these layer 2s and whatsoever, there's a possibility that Bitcoin really becomes, a real, use as a cryptocurrency, right? You use the payments and whatsoever. There's so much that has not been touched yet with Bitcoin, like the whole DeFi applications around Bitcoin and all that. And I think this is a big play that could happen in 2024. So being able to pledge finding your Bitcoin into the total value lock, the different DeFi protocols. There's a lot of people working on that. So this is going to be a very exciting moment to see how Bitcoin could soar. And obviously it's the father. So it's always good to have a good relationship with your father, right? So my biggest satellites, obviously, of this year was Solana. And it was just by the crazy performance that it went. And why did I go into Solana? It's just that it's only possible on Solana, right? Nicolas himself and many other people, like Antoine and met the really cool people from Frederic and all the DeFi team has just, for the last 3 years, only talked about Solana in the office. You see hoodies and all that. And, I met the president as well. So, Lily, which is an amazing person. We went to, obviously, I already built my position at that time, but meeting the Solana ecosystem really in Amsterdam, a breakpoint this time, was so much better from the other events that have been in the past. Meeting Toli, the founder himself, just all smart people and people that are very techy and very driven through applications that have real, cases. And Solana has been really that thing which I didn't like at all, and now I really believe that it's a huge contender and it's a really great layer to not replace Ethereum, but just to build a great piece of tech where a lot of decentralized applications will be built on it, and this whole ecosystem around it is fueling. 8% of US dollars. So it gives me this flexibility to DCA. I will be putting more dollars probably in order to grow this to hopefully 12%. So 50% more money, and there to essentially buy different tokens, to be able to DCA in a lot of different current positions as well. And maybe keep always a nice amount of dollars in order to participate in a lot of cool alpha deals that we love so much. The thematics right now represents only 6%. I really love the best of blockchains. It really is there to participate in all the layer zeros, ones, and two. I'm actually DCing in best of block. I thought I was DCing best of blockchains. I will DCA starting right now in best of blockchains. I know I'm DCing as well in golden thematic, which I like to play as well because it has this off way to do things, right? Then essentially I build around DeFi protocols. So these DeFi protocols for me is MakerDAO and Aave. These are the biggest essentially, well, DeFi applications. One is about DAI and how it's changed recently with the yield and how do you get essentially T-bills. I think there's a lot of things that are being done with MakerDAO itself. It's just a great project that has a substantial track record of 7+ years. And it's really the number one, decentralized stablecoin that one has really went through multiple different battles. So it's still well, and with the recent adds to this is a great company. And it's European as well, which is really great. Another great European company too that we are very good friends is Aave, and this is really Aave company. The great thing is essentially it has $8 or $9 billion of TVL. Is really the best platform for lending and borrowing, or the more secure one, at least for lending borrowing. Has been tested multiple times, and I believe that this is a great one. Then going forward, we still have some layer 1s, layer 2s, which is Polygon, Arbitrum, Binance Coin, that has some fun, but it's quite it still is very small. I have reduced a lot of my Binance tokens, a lot. A little bit before CZ and whole this thing when the 4 thing was going on, I didn't really like it. I was like, okay, this is getting a lot of FUD potential, but there's real substance to it. And if people are just doing number 4 to say whatever, this doesn't work, this is not a good sign. So I sold most of my BNB at that time. It was a very big position I had of BNB, and I think I'm not going to be owning any BNB anymore going forward. I just think that it had its time, but I don't believe that it's still a great company, but I don't think BNB is for me the hottest token. Dogecoin, and this for Homa Springers, I still believe Doge is it's the Ethereum of meme tokens. So I love fun, fair, and community centric. For me, this is super fun. I always had Doge. I never talked about it too much because I know our community, you guys thinks money shouldn't be played as a fun way. I think so. It completely should be fun. And I don't care about the people that don't believe in meme tokens. I think Doge just showed as 8-year track record at least. The richest guy on the planet, or one of the richest guys on the planet, just loves Dogecoin. So sooner or later, we're 90% down. It's one I trade. I never keep these ones, right? All the other ones, I will trade them out. Not like my core. So I'll get out of these positions, but I think Dogecoin will be great. Won't talk about the others. There's still many others that are great, but these are so small that don't represent much into my portfolio. I hope you guys enjoyed this version. So Borgers, 2024, what can I say? I think this is going to be one of the craziest ride we're going to have together. I'm extremely bullish on the fact that there's going to have institutional but retail adoption. I'm very bullish by the fact that we're going to have more applications that will have a better usage, a better user experience. And thanks to these new layer 1s that are scaling better and better day by day with their layer 1s but layer 2s, this is going to help us to finally have a better immersion, a better version of these applications that will be running smoothly, and a better user experience in general. So that's why I'm extremely bullish about 2024. I think so. This is going to be a year that, in terms of macro, a lot of things are going to be played. There's going to be a lot of volatility, right? But there's going to be more volume, more people. And sooner or later, I mean, just we saw what happened today, things are really going quite crazy. And this is good, because what we want is crazy. You can't shake the world, you cannot shake the world with just between two people just saying, hey, you need to make massive changes. And again, I want to congratulate all of you guys for going through 2022 and 2023 with us, which was still like, quite a hard, I would say, 2 years, right? And I'm very, very fortunate to have you guys. I'm so happy that 2024 is going to be a much better year for all of us. And of course, the Borg token is one of our big concerns, and we want to bring more utility to it and make more greatness around it. So this is something that I really hear on Twitter. And I like it. And whatever you guys have in your mind, which is the most important, is to share it, right? And not everything is going to always be green. Not everything's always going to be great. But there's one thing that is that whatever we will be able to do, we will do our best. And this is something that is very from the bottom of our hearts. Everyone as Borgers, We always are there to work very hard, to listen carefully together, how to brainstorm and go back and forth and try to gamify and create a great experience and build this beautiful application to offer you guys financial freedom. And this is something we will not stop until we reach the top. And I know that in 2024, we're going to discover a lot of new all-time highs, which we're going to do together. So as always, be healthy, be wealthy, love our Borg and equity. Much love, guys. Take care. Bye.
Through SwissBorg, all assets will have a fiat gateway. And here's the thing.
Premium features gives you zero fee trading.
It's an amazing fiat gateway.